Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of Channel Your Light, Own Your Intuitive with myself, Erin Chandler. I am so excited to share this information with all of you. It is in regards to, of course, the supermoon, the harvest moon, which is coming up tomorrow, I believe, on the 29th. But this is all the information leading up to it. And when I was given this information by Spirit, and I started actually researching and looking into the individual interconnections, the way this all comes together blew my mind, essentially. And I feel like I've quoted it on one of my channels previously on the thumbnail, but it really and truly is, those who control the future control the present moment. And those who control the present moment also control the past. So we're going to break down exactly what this supermoon has been taking you to, because this is the transcendence point. There is a reason why it is 4 supermoons in a row, why we are flanked by solar eclipses and seasons. We're also going to touch on that, but I really want to break down for you all of the indicators pointing to the same thing so that you understand the purpose of this energy right now, particularly because there's so much chaos. So this is going to help you to understand your internal landscape, because many of you are at your transcending a certain parallel universe or a dimension, moving on to the next one, moving off the wheel of karma. Each of you is slightly different, but this is like, it's like taking a map and saying, okay, here's the pieces. And you're going to be able to put inside the pieces saying, that's my piece, that's my piece, that's my piece. And oh my gosh, look at how they all go together. And this is important because many of you gatherers, you've been gathering pieces and parts and ideas and concepts and knowings and experiences along your journey thus far, your journey of your training grounds. This is important because this is a culmination moon, and it's not just about the energy like, oh, I illuminate and I release and I'm cleansing my energy. It is so much more than this, friends. So let's dive in. In order for us to attain the future or overcome the past, we have to know where we are in this current moment. This is where we access everything, whether it's intuitively, whether it's transcending things, whether it's integration and understanding. Doesn't matter what it is. Your greatest attunement to accessing the information that you need is always in the present moment. So we're going to take this present moment of the harvest moon. If this is a harvest, a culmination of your hard work, for many of this, it's also a transcendence from the lessons. We talk a lot about, pulling out the rotten roots and the root foundation and the root chakra and your I am and all those other things. This is about to make it crystal clear why that's so important, because you're already on the next I am transcendence of it. And this supermoon is intended to highlight it so that you don't go back onto that past patterning, but rather are attuning. I'm seeing people, it's like you're in one world and in another on a next kind of a level. So this is really going to put it into perspective, because we're dealing with the present moment. If you want to know where you're going, you have to know where you are. And in order for you to know where you are, you have to know where you have been. So we can't learn from the past. I cannot heal or grow or expand or leave something behind if I am consistently denying it, yet it is an intrinsic part of who I am. So even though we're starting right here in the moment for this harvest moon, I'm going to ask you to go back first. And I will outline on this map and guide of why, what to look for, and what it means. Let's talk about dimensions. We have the first dimension, which is your experience. Your second dimension, which is your expression. Your third dimension, which is your integration and understanding on the 3D earth plane, or perception. It's integrating and understanding a perception from the duality based on the original singular experience. The fourth pillar, the fourth dimension, is the dimension of transcendence. It is transcending that perspective. It is having the experience, being able to fully and deeply express it in order for you to integrate and understand it, in order for you to move beyond that limited perception of that third dimensional value or aspect. This is important because these are 4 full supermoons, creating a transcendence, illumination, so that you can move above and beyond, move further, begin to co-create with spirit in a way that you were originally intended to. So let's go back to the past. That first full supermoon in July, the buck moon, as some would call it. All the moons have many names. I only want to talk about the supermoons. That's because they're super illuminators and intentional for this time frame, flanked by major eclipse seasons and cusping into the middle of it as well. But these are important because the sun and the moon, solar and lunar. So there's a lot of different aspects happening. Now, the first supermoon of July 2023 was based in the house of Capricorn. This is the 10th house if you follow astrology. This is also the base, first dimension that's being illuminated, the roots, the I am, I guess you could say, of the experience. So it's your experience. So if this is represented by the 10th house, which is the house of Capricorn, what does the house of Capricorn represent? Kingdom. That is what it represents. The kingdom within, the house of self. You are the kingdom. And then we have the greater kingdom of the kingdom that we live in, the things that shape, move, manipulate, or have rules and regulations in place that can either positively or negatively impact us. So if we go to this idea of I'm in the first dimension, which is the experience, and we are illuminating that which doesn't work, that which we no longer need, that which is not in alignment with the actual experiences we want to have in the future. This is highlighted in that first supermoon in July. It's the buck moon. Think about the interconnections of this. It's in the 10th house, which is the house of Capricorn, which represents the kingdom that you reside in, how you operate in the world, whether you have strong boundaries and honor who you are and what you want and what you need. Most of us don't. This is why this is the first supermoon that was illuminated. Now let's dive into this deeper. Capricorn also represents as the house of enterprise. It also talks about ambitions, motivations, career achievements, society and government, authority, notoriety, advantage, talks about structures. It's represented in the tarot. This house is represented in the tarot, just to interweave these, as the devil energy. Stop and think about this. The devil energy is represented in the tarot as being seduced by a material world, a 3D aspect, physical pleasures, living in fear. Themes of domination and bondage also represent being caged by an overabundance of luxury, needing to use discretion. It just represents a lot of negative connotations or limitations or energies that are limiting you from outside of you and within you. It represents enslavement, fear, feeling trapped, materialism, unhealthy relationships, temptation, all of those different things. That's what the devil card in the tarot represents, which is representative of the sign of Capricorn, which is also the 10th house of your house of kingdom. So what were we illuminating in July? We were illuminating anything that enslaved us, illuminating anything that we were afraid of, illuminating anything that kept us in bondage, illuminating any energies both outside of us and inside of us. Really illuminating, does this work or does it not work? Put it in a personal aspect is what I want to say. Put this in a very personal aspect. What happened in July? What epiphanies did you come to in July? Because this is significant. This is why we journal. This is why we go back. We're not looking at the past in order to relive it or to stay there or to recreate it. We're looking at the past right now to illuminate it for this transcendence that's happening right now. It's like learn from the lessons, cultivate and cull the wisdom, shape the pearl, squeeze and fire the diamond, and release all the things that were required to create it once it's been created. Keep the wisdom, leave the pain and the dark residue. That's the idea. So that's the first full supermoon in July. That's what you were illuminating. The devil energy, or limitation, fear, of the representation of feeling caged, of being veiled, not seeing things clearly, a lot of rules in place. There's just so much there. Think about, what were you doing in July? What came to your awareness in July where you were like, I am not doing this anymore, and I am not having that anymore, and What fears were illuminated? Because illumination can happen through an epiphany of, oh, that's what that was. That's what I was really afraid of. And then you can discard it. But illumination can also happen on the other side of the spectrum, where it amplifies your fear so much that you can no longer deny or ignore the fact that that's the thought pattern or that's the energy that you're in. So it can both be an epiphany and easily discarded, or it can show up as a super amplification. Prime example, I'm being told to give an example. Let's say you're in an unhealthy relationship with someone. That energy of them caging you, or fear, or enslavement, or trying to hold you down, that would have been illuminated tenfold. Or perhaps it is you who is clamping down and contracting, trying to hold on to something that isn't yours, not realizing your ultimate freedom lies in letting go. You would have been amplified, felt really the need to control, really the need to fear. These dynamics are all there. That's what you were illuminating in the first full supermoon in July. It's the experience. What is the experience that needed to be illuminated for you to discard it, see it clearly, get rid of it? And it's a devil energy. It's a limitation. Another interconnection. Let's look at the chakra energy centers now. What is the 10th chakra energy center? It's the universal minds. It's universal consciousness star chakra. When we think about the devil card and the 10th house of Capricorn and the illumination of this, what's in the universal mind? What's in the universal consciousness that is negative and limiting? Our thought patterns, our lack of boundaries, our lack of personal power. That's what's being illuminated, that which is in the universal consciousness, if you want to look at it from the chakra energy systems. Now let's look at it from the BHAVA. The 10th BHAVA is the universalization of the self based on resources, artha. What are the resources that you're using? It's identifying this too. What in your work is taking away from your resources? Where do you need resources? Where didn't it work? And this is about the self. Perhaps the resource you need was, I have too many distractions and I don't need a resource outside of me. I need the resource with my focus inside of me. Place this in your direct experience. 10th house also represents the chairman or the key person in charge. I feel like it's important to identify this as well based on the kingdom aspect of the bhavas when it comes to the 10th house. Also reference as kingdom, just like it is in astrology. So if I am my kingdom, who was in charge? Who's a devil energy? And I say devil energy, a limitation, fear, bondage, enslavement, all of those different things. The powers that be I am hearing. This first moon was to illuminate where you are not in charge of your own kingdom and the effect that it has on you. In order for you to illuminate it, glean the wisdom, release what was required to access the wisdom, and move forward, coming into the kingdom of the self. Now, this first supermoon, when we get to the fourth one, is going to blow your mind how this is connected. Next, let's go to the second full supermoon. This was in August. It was in the house of Aquarius. The house of Aquarius is the 11th house. It represents the house of friendship and harmony, how we get along with each other, where are there dynamics that don't really work, where are there imbalances in how we have relational aspects with other people. Obviously, the house of Aquarius represents many more things. We are coming into the dawning of the age of Aquarius, so that's significant as well. So if we look at the house of Aquarius, let's go through it in this aspect now too. In the 11th house, this was also the Sturgeon moon, which was kicking up anything that was in disharmony or disharmonic notes in the symphony of your life. So the first full supermoon illuminated what it was, illuminated the root foundation of the experience that created it. And then we get to the second super full moon, and this is illuminating all of the disharmony in terms of relationships where that original experience has continued to play out with other people, other dynamics, perhaps in your career, showing you where these places are that you have given your keys away to your kingdom to somebody else. Now let's dive in deeper. The star. The Aquarian sign is represented by the major arcana of the star, the water bearer. What does this card indicate? In being inspired, a renewed hope and faith, and a sense that you are truly being blessed by the universe, being connected by the universe. It also represents a splendid revelation of the future. It represents courage and enlightenment of the spiritual self in this 11th house. The intention of this is to create a fire of inspiration. We have a fire of inspiration because we have identified in that full moon what is in disharmony with our frequency, what is holding us back, what are the relationships that need some serious rebalancing or completely letting go of. The House of Aquarius is about friendship. I also attune to it as being about unity, how we can all come together. When we cannot come together is just as important information of how we can, because if we know how we can't, that really illuminates how we can. Some of you may have found at that time that you actually found some of your soul family, people that get you, people that understand you, and beautiful things in that as well. That was the second full supermoon in August. Now let's dive deeper into this, my friends. If we look at the 11th star chakra, represents the cosmic star chakra or your galactic star chakra. Notice it's coupled with the age of Aquarius and the 11th chakra energy system. This represents many things. Think about when we fall into people who are in alignment with us and no longer at a dense energy, when that's illuminated, all of the disharmony. What does the star represent? Finding your galactic soul family, finding your people, having renewed hope, feeling a feeling of inspiration as you get into alignment with your soul's path and with the people who are here to create it with you or support it. Because the 11th